today is another wonderful example of where you unfortunately need a few more English words to capture the fullness of the Greek so that we can understand the message of what's happening today. And so I wanted to point out a few of those words because they help deepen our understanding of what's happening here in this story. All right? We've all heard this story before. So Simon and then James and John are all returned from a night of fishing, and they haven't caught anything. Jesus comes along and says, go ahead and try again. And they do, and they catch this great shoal of fish. And then he says that you will now become the fishers of men. All right, we've heard this story at least 1,000 times. All right, but now let's take a look at maybe some of the words that have passed by us. So Jesus, after he teaches, right, he sits down in the boat, he teaches. After this, he gives now a command directly to Simon. Most of the conversation is between Jesus and Simon. Now, this is not the first time that Simon has seen Jesus, all right? So we have to keep that in mind. And so first thing he does is he gives him a command. Epanagaye istovathos. When we have a Greek word that ends typically with epsilon, then we have what is called the imperative or the command form. There are 3 types of command forms that can be done in Greek. 2 of them have to deal with do something, and then I want to see the action completed. Close the door, right? So this is an action that I expect a completion. The door is open, I want it closed. There will be a completion of the action. The second or the third form of imperative is where we want the action to keep going. I talk to the choir and I say, keep singing. There's no end to that. Keep singing until I tell you to stop. In this, we have a single command. What Jesus is telling, not asking, he's telling Jesus, is he's saying, I want you to now to go out and I want you to put your nets out into the deep. Now, first off, we got to think about that. Now, I'm not a fisherman, so I had to look this up. Apparently, the best time to go fishing, or one of the best times to go fishing, is at night. And typically, at least at that time, they didn't go that far out. They kept a little bit close to the shore. So fish typically, I guess, they eat at night. And then by the morning, they've kind of had their fill, and now they're resting. So to Simon and the other fishermen, this sounds like nonsense. Didn't we just tell you we have been fishing all night and we haven't caught anything? This is the reason for the command. If he just said to them, you know what, why don't you give it another try? The answer would be, no, I'm not going to do it. But Peter knows who Jesus is, because we'll see this in the next Greek word. Jesus knows who he is, and he says, look, we've been out there all night. And the word that they use is kopiao. Kopiao is that I have grown weary. This is more than kurastika. This is now, I'm exhausted. Something akin to what happens after our festival, all right? You're not tired. You're done. You're exhausted mentally and physically. So this is the word that he's using here, and he's using it for all of the people there that's in the boat with him. Kopia santes. So he's talking about everybody in the boat is absolutely tired. We've been doing this all night. So we have to get a sense of how tired they are. This is not just been out for an hour fishing. So he's telling him, I'm letting you know, Jesus, that I and my friends, my family have suffered and we are exhausted, but I will go out again. And the term that he uses at the beginning of that, I will go out again, is epistata. This is a word that only Luke uses. He doesn't call him rabbi. He doesn't call him despota. He calls him epistata. This is a term that indicates power and authority. This is somebody who has authority over you. So at least in ancient Greek, a judge, a magistrate, a police officer, somebody that has authority. So he's not addressing him as a teacher. Oh, rabbi, I don't think you know what you're talking about, but we're going to go ahead and do this anyway. He is addressing him as master. So this is important to understand, and says, okay, we will do this, knowing full well that there's probably nothing going to happen. But Jesus gives him the command. This is why it's imperative form, so that we understand that. We have now this great catch of fish. And it says, at least in the English, and when they had done this, they were enclosed a great shoal of fish, and their nets were breaking. And we have to understand the Greek term there to mean that the nets were on the point of breaking. The nets were not breaking, they were on the point of breaking. The Holy Fathers of the Church use this to indicate that the church will be filled. This is what Jesus is saying. You will be fishers of men, and the nets, the churches, will be filled. The Holy Fathers see the term vathos, ipanagaye, istovathos, go out to the deep. The Holy Fathers interpret this to mean you will go out into the land of the Gentiles. You'll not be close to shore just preaching to the Jews, but you will go out into the depths, and this is where you will be fishers of men. So they use that vathos to understand that we're speaking of much, much larger apostleship and discipleship than just the Jews there. And so now Peter has acknowledged him and calls him, Lord and Master. This is the proper translation of this. Lastly, he says, when Simon Peter saw it, he fell down at Jesus' knees and said, "Depart from me, I am a sinful man, O Lord." And the Holy Fathers understand this is, he's not asking Jesus to leave. It is in Greek more of a statement that says, I now truly realize who you are, that you are Lord and God. So this depart from me is not a literal depart, but it means I recognize now who you are and what you are doing for us. And with that, he now gives them the command, and he says, henceforth you will be fishers of men. And it's interesting is because when he says fishers of men, the verb that he uses here is zogreo. And this is interesting because it doesn't have the connotation of just catching, but zogreo means that when I catch it, it is alive. I'm not catching it and killing it, but I am catching something that is alive and that I will keep it. I will retain it. That word that they use there, zogreo, we have to understand that, the Holy Fathers understand that in the context that you will literally capture these people, whether it's the Jews or the Gentiles, and you will bring them to me, and I will hold them for life. I will take them out of their sin and their capture from Satan, and I will hold them, and I will capture them alive. You will bring them to me, and I will hold them. So I just want to talk about a couple of the words in Greek that if we understand now the depths of those words, we can get a clear and precise understanding of the message that now Luke is trying to bring out to us.